This is part 2 of the video of how to hedge our risk against the inflationary power on our money. How do we make sure that this $200,000 in 10 years doesn't lose $50,000 of value through property investment, which I showed you in part 1. Let's continue. In part 1, we talked about how there were two strategies. You either do nothing by parking your $200,000 here for the next 10 years, where you'll earn an interest at 5% average, which you'll earn about 125k interest, where at 200k in 10 years, you'll be getting a total of 325k if at the end of the 10 years you took that money out. However, 125k, which is the interest that you receive over the 10 years, would have been taxed on your taxable income. However, if you park this money in an offset account by putting 5% deposit, about 40k to buy a property of 800k, where you get a loan of 760k, and say you can afford the mortgage repayments of 4,700 per month at an interest rate of 6.3, well, in 10 years time, this $800,000 property, which was purchased today at an average capital growth of 4%, which is very conservative, at $800,000, with this formula times 1 plus 0.04 to the power of 10, your property will be at least $1.184 million. And remember what I said in part 1, instead of parking this money over here, you parked it in this strategy. You put down 5% deposit over here. The rest is 160k sitting in an offset account, offsetting 6.3%. The interest earned on this, because it's offsetting this interest rate, cannot be taxed by the ATO, so sucked in ATO. And what happens is, because this is offsetting 160k of interest of the 760k loan, going to my mortgage calculator with the 160k in the offset, you leave it there for 30 years, what happens is you would have shaved off the principal interest repayments by 9 years, which means in 20 years over here, your mortgage is paid off. And even in 10 years, if you left this money in the offset account, your home loan balance from when you start off to 10 years later would be only 501,000, down from 760k, which means you get in 10 years time the annual capital growth by 4% per year, which you will derive at 1.184 if you decide to sell this property, minus the loan remaining. You would have pocketed, at a point of selling this property, 683k in equity. And by the way, since this is your PPOR, prime place of residence, there is no tax on this. Whilst if you left this over here and did jack crap because you're lazy, you would have earned interest up to 325k. 125k is taxed. So you can see from these two strategies, if you park this money over here and after 10 years, you pull the money back out, you'll be taxed on that. However, if you put the money over here, only just 5% over here, left it over here, you sold this, you get 683k. This is very conservative at a 4% annual capital growth. Also, you still have 160k in the offset, which is offsetting your interest. And this is not taxed. More importantly, by doing this strategy, yes, you are paying $4,700 per month if interest rates were at 6.3, but hey, you got to rent anyway. You're either paying the landlord's mortgage or your own mortgage, right? And also from here, if you did this strategy over here by putting all your bloody money there, well, yeah, you get 125k, but that's taxed. And also, you're bloody still renting, paying someone else's mortgage. So right now, following the same metaphor in the part 1 video, if you went to sleep tonight with 200k of cash, and that sleep was like 10 years, for example, you woke up in 10 years, with this money, if you decide to do nothing and park it into a high interest savings account, while the inflationary thief that is 3% depreciation on your hard earnings down to 242, which means you had a 20% ROI on this strategy. Whilst you put your money here, leverage someone else's money by putting down just 5% deposit, buy an 800k property, and then you would have netted this much, 683k. That's a 341% return on investment versus 20% return on investment. If you hypothetically woke up after watching this video and go, you know what, I'll still put this 200k in my savings account because that's safe. Get on, man, seriously. Look, if you're the 88% of people who think like that, you might as well take this money, go to Star City and put it on a black and red, and really hope to God you win. Because you probably have a better chance of beating inflation with Star City than putting money in your goddamn... Jump in the comments, let me know what you think.